Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I think I was in 5th or 6th grade when there were these major lawsuits against the cigarette companies, and we were learning in school all about the dangers of smoking. Every so often we'd have a counselor come in and talk about the dangers of smoking. And then there were these lawsuits. And I remember thinking, what's the whole point of these lawsuits if cigarettes are going to continue to be sold? Like 10 years later, you're just going to have a new cohort of people who have died of smoking. Are we going to have another set of lawsuits? And meanwhile, counselors would come in to talk about the dangers of smoking. But I had a few teachers who smoked regularly. You could tell they smelled of smoke. And I remember talking to one of my teachers about it, and she flat out told me that, well, we all gotta die of something, and she really enjoys her smoking. And so I remember thinking, well, why do you tell us not to smoke then? I remember kind of thinking in those regards. Now, it's kind of funny why I ended up not taking up smoking. I never really tried. I tried one cigarette one time, but that was it. And I think I know why. One time, one of the counselors had told us about all the additives that were added to cigarettes. And among them were ammonia. And not that long before that lecture, one of my science teachers had talked about how he had accidentally mixed ammonia and bleach. I didn't know what ammonia was until I saw it on the anti-smoking lecture. And I remember thinking, well, cigarette paper is bleached as well, so that's ammonia and bleach. And I really loved my science teacher, and I remember thinking of cigarettes as being kind of like the science experiment he accidentally did while doing the laundry that time. So it just gave me a nice warm fuzzy feeling about it. It came all around, right? But I actually think the idea of lecturing about all the dangerous chemicals in cigarettes, that might not be exactly the best lecture to give a 6th or 7th grader, because you know all these funny sounding chemicals. What kind of 6th or 7th grader wouldn't want to be strong and smoke all sorts of crap, like ammonia, like benzene? What else was in there? Even radioactive stuff. I think polonium-210, among other stuff in the cigarettes, right? What kind of 6th grader wouldn't want to smoke that stuff into his lungs, right? I don't think that was the right lecture, by the way. But it was it might be something that seems very impressive, right? Anyways, but the same attitude of smoke first and then sue later, we see with the distracted driving, right? So I live in Phoenix, Arizona. We have a lot of billboards for car accident lawsuits. You turn on the radio, you never hear a distracted driving PSA, right? At best, you hear one about marijuana. Right nowadays, there's a couple of ads about don't drive after you're high on marijuana, but there's way more ads on car accident lawyers and stuff like that, right? And even sometimes you'll hear an ad about car insurance, about how don't buy cut rate insurance because you might not be compensated for this and that, right? But you'll never hear an ad about what not to do while you're driving. The other thing that I've noticed a lot is that everybody thinks that everybody else's distracted driving is bad, but oh my god, they got an emergency on their hand, they have no time to drive undistracted. It's kind of like my 5th grade teacher who thought she was immune to the dangers of smoking because she has to die of something anyway, eventually, right? Everybody thinks that, oh my god, we gotta die of something anyway, and this text is so important, if I don't do it, I might lose my job, my girlfriend might break up with me, I don't have time to eat anywhere else behind the wheel. And it occurred to me, how many car accident lawyer ads do you hear per hour on the radio? It occurred to me we almost have like a distracted driving industrial complex where we have a machine that depends on people constantly being distracted while driving. And what's really ironic is that people like to be distracted with their cell phones. And imagine you're driving, and as you're browsing something, you see an ad for a car accident lawyer, right? That probably happens all the time, right? And stop. Avoid the destruction before it even happens. And I gotta point out, yes, I know you've gotten away with it 1,000 times. You can get away with it up until the moment you can't. And so, is it worth it? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.